Alrighty everyone, welcome back. We are now getting very much close to the official release of Mission Impossible 7 Dead Reckoning, which by the way, is going to completely halt the box office returns for Indiana Jones 5, The Dial of Destiny. We have a lot of things to talk about what's going on with the Star Wars franchise, what's going on with Disney right now, specifically Bob Iger, the Disney board, people out there like Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, and exactly why Favreau is very much in a tough and furious phase with Bob Iger as the Disney CEO. Now, we know that Bob Iger has been making a lot of revisions and adjustments to the roadmap of the franchise, and, well, let's just say it's not looking good for Jon Favreau right now. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support, and let's get right into the subject, shall we? Now, we know one thing about everything related to The Mandalorian and other shows out there like Ahsoka that Favreau and Filoni are working on, is that this is basically their only saving grace to really kind of turning things around for the franchise and really giving the fans potentially what they want. It's all about, really kind of driving things from Star Wars Legends and trying to attempt to find a way to course correct Star Wars. And Disney is banking on them, by the way. And, well, basically Bob Iger seems to be sabotaging that, either intentionally or unintentionally, who knows, but a lot of it is connected to The Dial of Destiny and its box office returns. So let's get right into all of this. Now, on top of this, alright, with Disney and Lucasfilm hoping for Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni to course correct the Star Wars franchise with Ahsoka, one major development surrounding Jon Favreau has much to do with Bob Iger and what he recently approved for The Mandalorian Season 4 that is beginning to truly frustrate and anger Favreau. Bob Iger reportedly just approved to completely limit the budget of Mando 4 from $20 million per episode down to a far lower budget to $13 million as a way to limit budgeting after the failure of Indiana Jones 5. As it turns out, Indy 5 is creating a ripple effect for many Lucasfilm projects in the Star Wars franchise, starting off first with Mandalorian Season 4, which now Favreau is furious with Iger since this is limiting some things he wanted to do for the 4th season that would have made a pioneer with Star Wars by doing never-before-seen strategies to make it the best Mando season yet. Now, you guys may or may not know this, we talked about this. Jon Favreau had all these elaborate ideas that he was going to apply to his filmmaking style to Mandalorian Season 4, such as, very expensive sets, very expensive strategies of filming this thing, kind of like what they did with Mando Season 1 and 2, but he really wanted to up his game. So now, with the budget getting limited from $20 mil an episode down to what it is now, is really kind of capping on what Favreau is able to do, and that whether or not that really spells a recipe for disaster for where The Mandalorian as a show is going to head is really all up to him. It's all up to Jon Favreau on exactly how he's going to evolve from this and really kind of fine-tune his own, plan for everything related to The Mandalorian Season 4. So that's another thing that he has to take into equation is exactly what Bob Iger, is doing here. He is literally capping what Favreau was able to do for a very long time with Mando Season 1 through 3 and more. Now, on top of this, we also know that many members of the board, however, are trying to convince other members to retract this entire approval from Iger that is only going to force Jon and Dave to move through with more rewrites for the season once the writer's strike comes to a close, as well as cutting out many characters and actors that were supposed to sign up for this upcoming season of Mando. Now, Iger is said to be doubling down with this decision that all Star Wars Disney Plus projects for at least 2 years will hold a limited budget to make up for the loss of Indy 5 and Kathleen Kennedy's poor leadership skills at Lucasfilm. Jon views this as a very big challenge for himself to take on and is only causing more issues behind closed doors and more drama actually related to the 4th season of Mando. Iger is also going to be making the call whether or not to move forward with Ahsoka Season 2 if it comes to fail on Disney+, which was already greenlit months ago, as Jon and Dave have been working on that as well for Rosario Dawson and her return as Ahsoka. Now, again, about this. You guys may or may not know that Ahsoka Season 1, alright, that debuts this August, that basically is their make or break show. It's all a matter of whether or not that show is going to give them the ability to really kind of turn or course correct Star Wars and make it better than what it ever was under Kathleen Kennedy's leadership. Because Kathleen Kennedy, believe it or not, did not have as much involvement, or practically no involvement actually in Ahsoka, just the budgeting and stuff like that. So that's gonna really be interesting come, you know, this August and leading into the fall, where Ahsoka is going to lead The Mandalorian as a show, and exactly how that's going to create a ripple effect, quite possibly, for, you know, Jon and Dave's efforts on course-correcting Star Wars. It's really all up to them. Now, the thing about Bob Iger here, too, that I think a lot of fans need to come to realize is that we know that Bob Iger is causing many issues behind closed doors. He has been making very bad calls. He's been really kind of giving the fans not what they've wanted for a very long time with the sequel trilogy movies. So there's that. There's also another thing to actually focus on too, is that Bob Iger is the guy that allowed Kathleen Kennedy to stay at LUCASFILM. To literally stay at LUCASFILM and to really kind of strip down the Kenobi show, the Book of Boba Fett, and the lack of Boba Fett in Mando Season 3. So, those are all your problems with Indiana Jones 5, Star Wars as a whole. It's all rooted to Bob Iger, and that's why Kathleen Kennedy, you know, is basically the one that got what she wanted, because she asked Bob Iger, I need this, this, or that to make these stories work, and he was convinced about that. Because Bob Iger, let's face it, he doesn't know any better about these shows or the lore of these franchises. He knows nothing about them. And it's really all a matter of whether or not, you know, Jon and Dave are going to be able to pull together with Mando Season 4 with this limited budget now. That's interesting, to say the least. I mean, when you think about it that way, how are they really going to evolve from this? And where do they move on from there, you know? So, I think at the end of the day, everything related to this entire development, it's not great news, because, yeah, $20 million an episode is a lot, but if they had that, they could have done endless material and endless possibilities that could have really given them the right and proper tools to perhaps make Mando Season 4 quite possibly the best one yet, topping the atrocity of Season 3. Very, very possible. And Bob Iger seems to have axed any kind of possibility of that moving onwards. So, anyways, guys, I would love to hear every single one of you chime in below in the comments what you think about this. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.